Hello everyone. Today we'll be discussing Post Office Protocol 3 Secure, or POP3S, as well as Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure, or SMTPS. We'll also be discussing how to implement them on a few different kinds of servers, as well as a few hardening recommendations. So let's get started. First, we will discuss Post Office Protocol 3 Secure, otherwise known as POP3S. POP3S is an email protocol that is predominantly used for receiving email over the public internet. It works by a POP3 server receiving an email from a sender and then storing it in its own database. The client is then able to download the email from the POP3S database, and in turn, they are able to view it offline. What separates POP3S from POP3 is its added security. It uses either transport layer security, or TLS, or socket layer security, or SSL, to encrypt data and obfuscate it while being transferred across the internet. The secure and non-secure versions operate on port 995 and port 110 respectively. It is transmitted using the Transmission Control Protocol. Now we'll discuss how to configure POP3S with Dovecot. Dovecot is an email server used primarily on Linux machines and can be used in conjunction with POP3S as an email server. And the following steps are how to instantiate that. First is to install Dovecot using the following command, the sudo apt install Dovecot core Dovecot pop3d. Next, you will create a user and mail directory to access. That is used using the following commands. All need to be under a sudo user to create the server. But to create these users for the server account, you use the sudo user add, whatever name for the account you wish to use, as well as setting up a password for that. And then you must create a home directory for the mail to enter and store as a database. And that is used using the sudo /home, whatever user you would like to use, and then mail directory. Then you can log into your server and test the functionality of your Dovecot POP3S server using the mail command. Now we'll discuss a few hardening recommendations for POP3S. The first is to use port 995 when possible. Traditional POP3 is transferred on port 110 instead of POP3S, which uses port 995. And POP3S is a secure version of this protocol, so you would prefer to use that on your email server to add a layer of security. So traffic trying to enter the email server should attempt to enter on port 995 when possible to ensure the secure protocol is being used. Next, you should require stronger authentication and ensure at the bare minimum that a strong username and password are being used to log into the email server. And if possible, use more authentication or stronger authentication, such as multi-factor authentication. Next, employee training is an important part of email security, as email servers are all too commonly source of email attacks by threat agents. Phishing, spear phishing, and whaling attacks should all be made aware to employees, as well as how to recognize and deal with malicious emails. Now we will discuss Simple Mail Transfer Protocol Secure, or SMTPS. As opposed to Post Office Protocol 3, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol is used to transmit emails to other users across the public internet. It also standardizes emails so that computers may transfer data to each other, regardless of any differences in hardware or software. It works by first having the SMTP connection being opened. Next, a mail transfer agent, or MTA, looks up the destination IP to where the email will be sent. Then the data is transferred using the Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, and the connection is finally closed. SMTPS transfers mail to a mailbox just like Post Office Protocol 3, where the recipient of the email must retrieve it from the mailbox. SMTPS also uses encryption through Transport Layer Security, or TLS, to obfuscate data and transmit it securely to its intended source. Now let's discuss configuring SMTPS with Windows. Internet Information Services, otherwise known as IIS, is a Windows server that can be used as an email server in conjunction with SMTPS protocol. After you've installed the SMTP server with the Server Manager, the first step is to open your IIS Manager from the Server Manager dashboard. Next, by right-clicking on your SMTP server, you should select the area labeled Relay Restrictions to configure how emails are relayed. Relaying is the process of receiving emails and transferring them out. Add an address for the local host so that they are able to receive emails and configure security options such as setting username and password or blocking traffic being transferred through certain domains. Finally, restart the SMTP server and test it using a Windows command line interface such as PowerShell or the Windows terminal. Now let's discuss SMTPS Windows hardening recommendations using the Internet Information Services, or IIS. First step is to update and patch. Performing routine patches and updating is a good way to keep known software and server vulnerabilities from affecting your computer and your email server. Next is to limit email rate. Limiting the rate at which your server sends out emails can prevent you from sending potentially harmful traffic such as outbound worms, viruses, and spam, which can potentially get you blacklisted from certain IPs. Lastly is to monitor outbound traffic. Analyzing outbound traffic can be a useful tool in enumerating any malicious activity happening on your email server, such as phishing attacks, whaling attacks, or spear phishing attacks. Now we will discuss how to configure a postfix server using the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Postfix is a Linux-based software that is an MTA, or mail transport agent. It can be used to transport emails between systems. It can be used in conjunction with SMTPS to create an email server. The first step in creating a postfix server is to use the following command to install postfix: sudo space dnf space install space postfix. Next, you should edit the /etc/postfix/main.cf file with any changes you desire, such as listening on a specific interface or all interfaces, with the following command: inet_interfaces space equals space all. Finally, you should boot up and verify that postfix is running on the following two commands. First command to boot up postfix is systemctl space enable space -now space postfix, and then to verify the postfix is running, simply use the systemctl space status space postfix command. I will discuss some hardening recommendations using postfix in conjunction with SMTPS. First is to use the postconf. The postconf utility allows you to test for configuration issues in the config file for postfix. It will show you any errors or warnings that could lead to misconfiguration, or that your postconf file is misconfigured, which could lead to serious security implications. Next is to disable the vrfy command. vrfy is used to verify that email addresses are valid on the email server. And while it can be useful, it can also be used against you if an attacker was to brute force email address names and finding email addresses that are valid on a server. Disabling the command in the postconf file can prevent this. Lastly, we have configure relay domains. Domains are which areas the email server will accept traffic and relay for. Relaying is where you are sent traffic and you relay out from your server. Ensure that all domains are trusted, and otherwise harmful emails or phishing attacks could be routed to your server and relayed from it, which could also result in you being blacklisted. And finally, we just have some references that were used for this PowerPoint.